you've interviewed so many titans of industry, whether finance or people, athletes, celebrities, and you're so great at interviewing. How can you ask for stories and not just answers? What is your tips and advice for that?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. And frankly, when I started podcasting, I didn't even think that this was something that you had to do. You know, like it was the last thing on my mind. First thing on my mind was like, oh, I got to get a microphone. I got to get equipment. And I got to get a camera. And I got to do this other stuff. And what software do I use? How do I edit? All the stuff that come to find out is like inconsequential and not super important. And the one thing that I wasn't super worried about was like the thing that I should have been the most worried about, which was how do you interview somebody? And as soon as I did my first like 3 or 4 interviews, I was like, I am really bad at this. And if I'm going to keep doing this, I should probably make some sort of an effort to not be bad at it anymore. So I did. I started kind of studying and learning as much as I could, although there's just not a lot of material out there about how to do this the right way. So one thing that I developed in terms of your specific question, how do you get more stories from people instead of how do you, instead of just getting some information or a short form answer, what I tell people is always remember your buddy Ted. And TED stands for tell me about, explain to me how, or describe for me. So most of the time when we're forming questions, our initial thought is to use interrogative words because that's kind of definition of a question: who, what, where, when, why, how. um, and we typically, when you ask those questions, it allows for not as not as contextual answer. It's gonna prompt a shorter answer, typically, usually more informational type of an answer, and sometimes that's what you want, but other times you want a story that's going to engage people. And facts tell, stories sell. Stories are the things that engage. Stories are the things that inspire, that move people to take action, that get people to knock over belief dominoes in their mind, which is really the thing that gets people to finally take action, to believe it's possible for them. And story is really what helps do all of those things. And if you look at the best communicators in history, they all have that in common.
Yeah.
They're great at telling stories. So when you're interviewing, especially if you're interviewing somebody who's not used to being interviewed a lot, then your goal is to try to get more stories from people. And then you can kind of punch in on certain things. Like you build this kind of zoomed out story view, and then you can punch in on certain things and ask more kind of directed questions that are designed just to get a piece of information instead of elicit a story. But sorry, I am still sick, so I might cough a
No,
few
it's
times during
okay.
this. I'm giving your editor work. Um,
It's me. I'm the editor, so
I'm giving you more work. You're welcome.
yeah, that's okay. Worth
Um,
it.
so I try to do the tell me about, explain to me, describe for me. So that way, and a lot of times too, I'll say set the scene for us. Show that you want to kind of use these words that start immediately creating imagery in the guest's mind. So instead of saying where'd you grow up, it's like set the scene for how you grew up. It's like, well, if you tell me to set the scene, you know, I'm thinking the place that I grew up. I'm thinking the culture or the environment that I was in. I'm thinking socioeconomic background. I'm thinking about what my parents did for a
The
living.
Bible school, right?
Bible school stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking a lot more. I'm thinking a lot more all encompassing than just kind of answering one direct